I'm not quite sure what was going on. Still not quite sure. I'll share my screen. How do I do that? Give me 1 second. Window, entire screen, that one. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen right now in front of me, and we are a bit late, I'm afraid, so I apologise for the lateness. So let's, without further ado, crack on, get some levels. In fact, we're looking at the MES 1 hour time frame. This is the S&P index futures, and got some good levels set up. One of them kind of triggered, not quite there yet. So let's just make sure, hopefully that's all looking good. Okay, any problems, just reply to the chat, in the chat. So we got a couple of demand zones. We're currently in a demand zone right now, and we're putting in this bounce. Let's open up my pen, and you can see we are right at the bottom of this area of demand based on this candle here. So last time we came down, we had this big reaction, it bounced, and we saw this big move up. And we've got a supply zone up here as well, and there's technically a supply zone as well, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to there. So right now we are kind of watching this area, and what I'm watching for is a bounce. Got a high risk bounce. Let me just go to my notes. Go through. I use TradeViz. That gives me the notes I need. I put my notes in before the market opens, so I know exactly what I'm doing. So these are my levels: 47.55 break and retest long. So we're watching for the break and retest of this demand zone. I don't want to do anything while we're inside this area because it's looking a bit, as you can see, it's a bit messy. I'm either going to go for a short if we break down below here, or I'm going to go for a long if we break out above here. So that's the areas I'm watching for really today. I did take a quick scalp earlier. I took the bounce off of the bottom of my demand zone and just rode it up to the VWAP. Just a very small amount, very small size. But what I'm really watching for is this either to break. Currently in a downtrend on the hourly as well. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We haven't quite put in a new low yet, so that's why I'm watching this area. Just zoom out a bit. If we do break down, then we've got this gap, this void below, this big void below, and so we don't want to be doing anything. That's why I want to try and catch the break and retest of this area to ride it down, potentially to this area here where we've made our next area demand, and we may have an area 47. This is a higher probability bounce for me. 4,700, that's a nice equal, nice psychological number. We got the lower of this downward trend line connected by these two pivots and almost connected by that pivot, and we got this area of demand as well. So we could say X does mark the spot of where we want to get our entry. So that's what I'm watching for today. I want to be patient, try and get a trade for a break and retest this area down, and then maybe get down into that area for the bounce up. Nice defined stop loss. We've got the bottom of that pivot, so our stop will be below there. So if we do put in a bottom tail and then maybe with a solid body, then we could use a couple of ticks below that bottom tail, wherever that candle may be. And if you want to be safe, you could take the confirmation, the break of that candle as your entry. Myself, I'll probably have an order waiting there, and I'll be looking to get out. That gap is 4,700. It's a $9, almost a $10 gap again, like yesterday, quite a big gap. So I want to have a tight stop below if I can and look for a re-entry there. So that's kind of my plan for today. If we break above this area of demand, which we're sitting in, then I'll be looking for either a breakout, and that'll be a very small order, or a break and retest where I can add to that, and that's kind of my plan. We are currently below the 50 moving average. We are below the 200 moving average, and we're going against the trend as well. So got to be wary of that. So that's why I keep the stops as tight as possible. And if we see a big green day today, and we've got this area of confluence where the tops and body, tops of candles, bottoms of candles, bottoms of candles, tops of candles all meet, and potentially meets up with this 200 moving average, which is starting to curve over. So we could look for a rejection here at 47.97. That's an area to watch for a rejection. Just checking the streams live. I couldn't get my normal system working, so I'm on an alternative one called Restream. You can probably see up in the top corner the branding. It's a free one, but I'll see how it is. This might be better than OBS, but I'm not sure why I couldn't get my OBS working. So apologies for the delay today. So that's my levels. Just to recap, I'm watching for a break and retest of this low, which is around 47.44 area. I'm looking for the break and the retest of 47.55. So I want to get in that direction, or I want to catch it in that direction. This is the area I'm really watching for. If we do break down, 4700 area for a bounce and a potential rejection of a 47.97 or 4800 round number. So there's a round number as well, psychological number, and like I said, area confidence. Don't think we'll get this far. If we do, then we've got this area of supply where we can look for a rejection. But that's it. That is my game plan for today. Looking at SPY, quickly go through some bit delayed. So SPY hasn't quite come into this area, into this demand zone area. So potentially could be watching 467.40 through to 468.20 for a potential bounce. Or if we do break through this area, then we've got 465.40 as a potential bounce. Where's this area of, let's just put this demand zone in. And when I draw my demand zones, what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for a big move, but the demand or the supply, well, in this case, the demand is not, it's not this candle, it's the previous opposite color candle. So that's why I'm marking that one. And that one there, we've got the big move down, and we've got the opposite color. That's where demand came back in. And you can see supply, demand came back in at the bottom of there and pushed it up. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. It's not a, it's more of a area to be area of note rather than a line in the sand. So that's why I say I'll be watching this area for a bounce rather than watching 464 for a bounce. So that's all I'm watching there, same as ES, Qs. Okay, so the only place I can see on Qs is a bounce at 394.24, this area, tops of this candle, bottoms of that pullback there, and area where it was the ceiling, or it was resistance, and it became the floor, or became supply, support. So that's it, 394.24 for a bounce on Qs. And again, if we get back up into this area, then we can watch for a reject, and it'll probably be rejecting off of the 50 as well. And that's 403.50 to 404. NASDAQ, this is the futures NASDAQ. Again, the hourly, I'm only looking at hourly for everything. Same as Qs, 16.409 for a bounce, maybe a little bit lower than that. But that's the area I'm watching for. That's why I'm interested in that area for a bounce. Nothing else really until we get back up to this area here, or particularly this area, a bit like ES. This is an area 17,000. Nice big psychological number and a good area of supply. Oil, I've not looked at oil today. How are we doing? Big move last couple of days up. Come to our level again. We've been watching that level for a long time, 74.04. The real test, if we can break above it, pull back, and maybe look for the long for a swing. We've got a target at 76.19, and we are still waiting for a potential bounce down here. in this area of demand with this area is actually a previous pivot, if I remember rightly. Goes back a bit, and that's why it's a significant area. Yeah, it's an area of confluence, so that's an area to target. But if we can get back to this demand zone, then that I'll be looking for a long. And then gold finally. It's funny how these levels have been in place for a long time as well, and even weeks and months later, it still plays exactly to the levels. So that's why I've not changed them. I don't move them. I try not to remove old levels, but these levels, you can see a stair stepping up. It's between these levels, and it broke out of that level. You can clearly see the breakout. But it's consolidating, broke out, came down. Now it's pulled down, and look at that big red candle there, that with a topping tail candle. I don't know if you can see that zoom in. Came back up to that level, so it's still showing it's significant because it was a rejection point, and then bounced quite a few times down here. So with both levels in, I think the only place to watch for a bounce will be around here, or if we can break over that area, look for a break, retest long, and then we'll be getting above the 50 moving average, and we've got a sideways 200 moving average. It not as important as an upward or downward trailing moving average. So we should be able to get through the 200 relatively okay, but we need to get over this 50 for long. So still keep an eye on gold. That's it really. You could say there's a head and shoulders pattern forming here. So we've got the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder, a little bounce, and down. It's come back up almost into the neck. You could say this is the neckline, and the neckline is probably more likely this area. This is the neckline there. So came down, we kind of bounced off the neckline and then failed, and then broke it. Yeah, so until we get above that area for a push up, or we can be watching for a bounce down here. That's it. Let's go back to MES, see if there's any change over the last few minutes. Still in that area, so if we are going to go long here, it's a high risk double bottom long, because we're so close to where the market is, where it is right now in the pre-market, and we kind of broken that pivot. So I don't really want to take it unless we're just going by yesterday's low. That's all we've got is yesterday's low, and I'm not sure what the volume's like on that candle. Big candle, reducing volume compared to the previous candle, and it's very high risk if we are going for a bounce. But I quite like the break of this area, the retest, and then the move down with a target of 4,700. I think that's it. Okay, thank you for watching. If you like this video and it's helped, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, and I will be back tomorrow live. Hopefully I won't have any technical problems this time. Okay, thank you for watching.